Hello, and welcome to our COP28 Focus series on Energy Connects with me, Julian Walker. So I speak to leading experts around the world in the lead up to COP28, taking place in the UAE in Dubai at the end of this month. I'm pleased to welcome Annalena Hagenauer, Principal and Middle East Climate and Sustainability Innovation Lead at Boston Consulting Group, for today's episode, in which we'll be looking at the road leading up to COP28. Annalena, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Julian, for having me.
So let's dive into today's episode then, Annalena. How can COP28 be more of a COP of action in your view then?
That's an important question. So the most important thing in my view is that we start to see more concrete short-term action. Right? So we already have a lot of pledges and commitments in place, and we need more of those. But we also need to see the action that will deliver that, right? So if we talk about pledges for 2030 and beyond, especially for 2030, we need to look now at the coming years, so next year, the year after, and how we are ramping up the solutions and decarbonization levers to actually meet the pledges that we have made for 2030. Right? So what we should be looking for is what are countries, companies, and others doing this year, next year, the year after. And so the concrete short-term action. We are already seeing a lot of momentum, and I've seen a lot of momentum in the time leading up to COP, where I see UAE-based entities, Middle Eastern entities, really trying to showcase their initiatives and the action that they're already taking and trying to showcase that at COP. And hopefully that can then also inspire others to do the same.
Absolutely. And obviously, I mean, we've heard quite a bit about, COP28 is going to have the next global stocktake. Why is this such a critical turning point to have this global stocktake take place at COP28?
Yeah, so the global stocktake is indeed very important because it's the first time since the Paris Agreement that we're getting a very detailed view on where we stand and what the gaps are to keep us on track with the 1.5 degree pathway. Right, so it's the first time that we have that as a very comprehensive and detailed analysis in front of us. And it can really serve as guardrails for the discussions at COP. Right, so everything that is being discussed, and when we discuss about whether something is sufficient or insufficient, we can bring it back to the global stocktake and whether it addresses the gaps that shows, right? Because we know that if we continue to emit as we emit today, we will run out of our carbon budget and hence miss the Paris 1.5 degree target, probably already before 2030. So for that reason, it's so critical that we now see those gaps very clearly, and then we take action. I would actually say that the stocktake itself is not the turning point, but it is the action that we'll hopefully see in response to the stocktake that can make all the difference and be a turning point, indeed.
Absolutely, and I think this is all about, all eyes of the responses and as you said, deliverable actions of the response as well is going to be key at COP28.
Exactly.
On that about actions itself, how do you think COP28 can help bridge the policy gap or lead to more discussions and debates, which there have been a lot of, but to actually result in actual deliverable actions in terms of policy?
Yeah, so the policy gap is a very important one to address. It essentially means that we have insufficient policies for the action that we need to mobilize through policies, right? Because we know that in climate action, a lot of it is not possible without the right policies being in place as enablers. So I would say the following. First, COPs in general are the premier global forum for exchange on policies, right? Because the policymakers themselves are there. So that is in itself a very, very important place to discuss policies, and it allows also to take the policies above the national level, talk about regional policies, potentially global collaboration, et cetera, et cetera. What I would also say is that in this COP28 specifically, we expect a very strong representation of non-state actors and private sector entities to be represented. So with that, we also have the opportunity that there will be a lot of exchange between the private sector and government, which is honestly not normally what we see, right? We see more government talking to government and private sector talking to private sector. But here at COP28, in all COPs, but specifically in COP28, we can we can hope that it is CEOs talking to heads of government and equivalent, right? So at the highest level, we can bring those sectors together. And when we talk about policies, it is very critical that we get private sector inputs and private sector feedback into the process, right? So that the policies are as effective as they can be.
Absolutely, and I think all eyes will be on that, and I certainly think that's been a call of this COP28 to bringing in the private sector far more. And I think that one other element to that is a sort of there is going to be a big focus at COP28 on the need to mobilize climate finance, but at scale. I think one question is, is this achievable? And, is there enough momentum have you seen around this, climate finance element?
Yeah, so climate finance definitely is very important. It is very much a focus. If you look at the thematic program of COP28, it is actually one of the 4 key areas. Is to, and what they say is it's to fix climate finance, right? Which shows us that we're not where we need to be. I think the first number that everyone will be looking for is the $100 billion promise. That is the climate finance that's supposed to go from developed countries to developing countries per year. And that promise has not yet been met. So one thing to look out for is whether COP28 can actually get us there. Now we're already seeing some promising signs, right? So at the Africa Climate Week, there was an announcement by the UAE to invest $4.5 billion in the African clean energy capacity. So that's already a very positive sign in the right direction. So, but let's see what COP28 can deliver on the overall target.
Absolutely, yeah, and we'll be there to see what comes out of it. And just before we go, a lot of them talked about how COP28 can sort of fast track or accelerate the global energy transition. And do you feel that that's true? And sort of in what ways? Is it through discussions, but also from the initial question, is it going to be a COP of action? I think is going to be key, I assume, to fast track global energy transition.
Yeah, you're absolutely right? So the global energy transition is at the core of climate action. And we know that the COP28 presidency has made that a key area of focus as well. I think they have set a very clear target that they want countries to commit to, which is the tripling up and doubling down, which refers to tripling the renewable energy capacity by 2030 globally. And it refers to doubling the rate of energy efficiency improvements in the same time frame, so by 2030. Now, that is very important to stay on track and to keep the 1.5 degrees of the Paris Agreement in reach. And if that could be achieved, it would be a game changer. So that is one thing that people will look out for. Now, of course, the energy transition is broader than that. We also will be talking about fossil-free transport, low-carbon hydrogen, carbon capture and storage, phase out of coal. All of this will also have to be addressed. But I think if we look at specifically renewables and energy efficiency improvements, then the good news here is that we as the world, we already have all the technologies and solutions in place to achieve that. Right? So it's not some innovative, unknown territory or technology that we have to rely on, but we know what the things are that we need to do. So hopefully, while this is very, very ambitious, hopefully COP28 can deliver against this goal.
Absolutely, Annalena. And all eyes will be there. I know you'll be there. We'll be there as well. So yeah, I think a lot of it now is looking forward to getting COP28 underway. But I just wanted to thank you for giving me your time and your insights into some of the key issues in the lead up to COP28. And let's see where it takes us.
Yes, indeed. Thanks a lot, Julian. It's happy to be here. And I guess I'll see you at COP.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. I look forward to bringing you more engaging discussions from COP28 itself.